Jack Oliver joins us, Classic Hits KEYN. Eddie Money, who joins us. Eddie, how in the world are you?
I'm doing good, guys. Another day in paradise.
Well, we're happy to have you with us. We were wondering before you came on the air your mode of transport to Wichita. How are you getting here? Charter, private plane, commercial?
No, we got a lot of friends. We got a lot of friends in Wichita, Kansas. I mean, the phone's been ringing off. But for most of us, be an older guy, because he got on the phone. My wife be going, "Are you Mrs. Eddie? Who's this guy Eddie Money? He's got a bigger guest list than the Rolling Stones." But we got a lot of friends in Wichita. I mean, I got a couple of guys that was in a band back in the '70s, and some lady that I've known really a long time that want to know if there's a wheelchair ramp. I don't know. My kid's going to be playing with me, which is good. I got Julian on drums, and I got Desmond doing his songs. I'm looking to do an exciting show, and what really is,
Well, Eddie, you've been living out in California for a long time, but I don't think you can take Brooklyn out of the accent because that's where you were born. And you're doing this law enforcement national salute. And in reality, some people might not know you were actually a policeman after high school.
Yeah, I went on the police department. I was a police trainee for a couple of years, but looking at my old man, he was working around the clock, and he was in uniform all the time, and he hated me, and he hated my rock. I mean, he was a great dad, but he wasn't. He never thought I was going to be a rock star. And I was on the police department a couple of years, and I started saying to myself, man, if I got to do that and stay in uniform with short hair. And my band had moved out to California, so I moved out to sing with those guys, but they didn't have the rock together at all. But then eventually I got to deal with the legendary Bill Graham and Columbia Records, and that was about 30 million records ago. Huh? What are you going to do?
Eddie, you're doing a show on Access TV called Real Money. I think you're about 8 episodes in. Do you feel revitalized by that? I know you, as a musician and an artist, you probably always want to feel like you're advancing yourself creatively. Does that do that for you?
Well, investing myself creatively. I got a Broadway show that I'm trying to get on Broadway. I played it up in Rochester, New York, it's called Two Tickets to Paradise. About me quitting the police department and getting a record deal with Bill Graham and having a drug overdose and all that miserable stuff. And at the end of the play, I meet Laurie. It's really a great play. I'm working on that, trying to get it on Broadway. I'm really trying to help my kid's career out. My son called Des Money, D-E-Z Money. Everything these days, it's all about social media. Nobody sells records anymore. I mean, how many records has an Imaginary Dragons or Taylor Swift sold? If people won't download the music, I mean, I got this new song out now called "It's a Brand New Day," and we did it on the 60 stations. We put it on Access, and people love the song. And I'm re-signing my deal with BMG, which is a great label for me. And the song's already been downloaded 3,000 times, and it's not even out yet. So I mean, they don't put CD players in cars anymore. It's all about social media. So I'm trying to get my kid's career happening. Desmond's got a good band. He writes really well. My daughter's a good singer. My other son's, a great drummer. And, it's time to pass the torch. You know what I'm saying?
That's good stuff. Eddie Money with us. The show that's on Access, it highlights your wife, who you've been married to for 30 years. You have 5 children, and you also have 8 pets. And I'm curious, Eddie, about the 8 pets. What's...
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I got a Staffordshire Terrier, which is a big dog, and my wife's got a Great Dane. He's really cool. And then we got these King Charleses. We got a couple of these King Charleses. And my daughter's got an English Bulldog. And my other son just bought a Cocker Spaniel. And the other kid just opened up and he wanted a French Bulldog. So, try to stay out of the backyard. You'd be sticking in, it's ridiculous how many dogs I got. But, I feel guilty because I love the dogs more than I love my kids. I can't figure that out,
Well, Eddie, back when you recorded "Take Me Home Tonight," Ronnie Spector, I have to self-indulge myself. I was in love with her when I was a little kid, and I just loved the sound of her voice and everything. How did that come about, and how did you pick her to do that part in that song?
Well, I tell you, if you think about Brian Wilson, his favorite song of all time was "Be My Little Baby" by Ronnie and the Ronettes. That happens to be one of my favorite songs. And there was that song called "Take Me Home Tonight" that I was doing. And the second chorus, it had 2 choruses in one, and the second chorus was the original chorus to "Be My Little Baby" with Ronnie Spector. And I was going to originally, Martha Davis was a good friend of mine from the Motels. I was going to use her. But I said, why don't we try to give Ronnie Spector the real deal? And I called Ronnie up. And she knew who I was from Two Tickets to Paradise. And I said, you heard a bunch of clinking and clanking. I said, what are you doing? She says, I'm not in the business anymore. I'm doing the dishes. She had a couple of kids. But I talked her into coming out and doing the song, and then she got the bug back. And, she did the video with me, and the door was coming up, and the smoke and everything else like that. And she just looked fantastic. She really sold the song. Take Me Home Tonight. They played that song in all the clubs all over the country for the last song of the night. I've been to so many clubs when it's closing, and they played Take Me Home Tonight, which is amazing. It was a big hit for me. And I want to thank Ronnie Speck for doing such a great job on it.
Absolutely. Eddie, you were born Eddie Mahoney. I think the transition to Eddie Money was pretty obvious, but what did that conversation, what was that like when that decision was made? Was that a 5-second, you're Eddie Money now, and you went along your merry way, or was it deeper than that?
No, I mean, I was going with a girl, and she was when I was going to UC Berkeley, and she was in Alpha Phi. And her mother thought she was living in a sorority, but she was actually living with me in North Oakland, and my last name is Mahoney. She said, why don't you take the A and the H out of Mahoney and become Eddie Money? I said, well, I got no money. She said, that's even funnier. And then there was a guy on the plate on the Brewers back there, and his name was Don Money. And I thought that Money had a nice ring to it, so I just started calling myself Eddie Money. Now these days, I'm changing my first name to Owen.
Please don't do that, okay? Eddie Money with us, of course, superstar. What do you like singing still after all these years? I've always wondered about how you guys that have been in this business for so long, from the time when you were really young, whether you thought that this was something that could last 30, 40, 50 years even. And whether you get tired of singing a particular song. Is there that song in your set list that you just dread every night?
Well, everybody really lights up when I do songs. It brings them back to a certain time in their life. I do 2 tickets, a Baby Hold On, a Take Me Home Tonight. The one song that I really wasn't crazy about that was a big hit for me was Walk on Water, because that part goes, no, 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 no. That was actually supposed to be a bunch of one players. But we were doing the session, and it was really a rainy day in Los Angeles, and all the roads were flooded, and the one section never showed up. So I wound up singing na 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 na, and then I got to do that the next night for the next 40 years. And I really wish. I feel kind of silly singing na 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 na, but the audience sings along with me. But it was actually supposed to be a one part, and it's the only song that really bugs me is that. But I mean, everybody else is, my voice is in pretty good shape. I don't get loaded anymore. I quit smoking cigarettes. I still got all my hair. Of course, my wife wants me to lose 10 pounds, but who doesn't? I mean, I'm 69 years old. What the hell do you expect? I mean, geez, I mean, I went to the doctors a couple of weeks ago, and I got on the scale, and they said, what am I bitching? What are you bitching about? Look at all the weight I'm losing. He said to me, put your other heel down.
Eddie, it's been a pleasure.
I told my wife I loved her. She said, "Get off me. What are you going to do?"
It's been a pleasure talking with you. Do you remember being in Wichita? I think maybe the last time you were here, down on Douglas Street for a big concert for Big Dog Motorcycles.
Oh my God! Yes, I do.
Yeah, you were. That was a big. I mean, there were thousands of people on the street on Douglas,
and a lot of bikers too. It was really crazy.
Yeah, that was.
I'm not much on a motorcycle, but I love the noise these big bikes make, and these 1,500 cc's and stuff like that. And yeah, that was a great gig too. And like I said, I got friends. My phone's been ringing off the hook because I got a lot of friends in Wichita. And I got a lot of friends of mine coming down from Kansas City. Driving down to the Wichita show. And I got a couple of old flames that are trying to get in touch with me. That my wife's, stop dead in their tracks. That is.
Let's not start anything in Wichita on that front, okay, Eddie?
Well, I had a gorgeous little girl in Wichita, and she was beautiful. And I went to see her. Then I came back 2 weeks later, and she answered the door, and she was in a cold sweat, and she was freezing. She had about 102 temperature. I got to tell you something. It was the best piece of ass I ever got in my life.
All right, Eddie.
Oh, Tommy.
That chick was sizzling, guys.
We appreciate it, Eddie. Thanks a lot.
I didn't mean to offend anybody about that last remark, but Wichita's a really great little rock and roll town, and the people there, it's really a fantastic place to play rock and roll. And Wichita is Wichita. What's it going to be? The Big W, baby.
Eddie, you'll have them talking. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.